Hi, I'm Nancy Blotner. At Caldwell University, we believe that all citizens should be informed about the important issues that affect their daily lives. That's why we're proud to support programming produced by the Caucus Educational Corporation and their partners in public television.
Funding for this edition of Caucus New Jersey has been provided by Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, Valley National Bank, Caldwell University, New Jersey Sharing Network, dedicated to saving lives through organ and tissue donation, Adler Aphasia Center, helping stroke and brain injury survivors recover their speech. The New Jersey Office of the Insurance Fraud Prosecutor. Insurance fraud costs New Jersey families $1,300 a year. And by Kessler Foundation, changing the lives of people with disabilities. Promotional support provided by NJ.com. Small news, big news, true Jersey. And by Meadowlands Regional Chamber, building essential connections that drive business growth.
Hi, I'm Steve Adubato. We'll be talking about cancer care, new treatments in cancer care with two people who live it every day, who are helping people every day. They are, in fact, Dr. William DeRosa, Chief of Oncology, and Dr. Molly Gabel, Medical Director of Radiation Oncology, both joining us from Summit Medical Group MD Anderson Cancer Center. I want to thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Dr. DeRosa, let me ask you, cancer care today, how much different than 5 years ago? 10 years ago?
Oh, it's dramatically different. We have departed what would be called the phenomenologic era of cancer care.
The what?
I would say the phenomenologic, where we did a treatment, we did a prospective randomized study, and then we looked to see and compared, and then figured out what to do from there. That was basically an inferential approach, where we inferred what the biology was. We have rapidly basically gone into what would now be considered the biological basis for figuring out what to do, understanding the circuitry, exactly what is wrong at the cellular level. So now, because we're becoming rapidly very sophisticated by being able to do genomic testing, we can then figure out where and exploit the vulnerability or whatever the target is that has caused the cancer.
Doctor, what does it mean for patients?
It means, which we love, it means that they can be promised the same cure, but with less side effects, and able to live their life to the fullest, including during treatment. And so in my field in radiation oncology, it's changed in terms of technology, but now we're focusing on how do we get that same cure with many less side effects.
Talk to us about this connection with Summit Medical Group. By the way, Summit Medical Group is one of the underwriters of what we do in terms of our healthcare programming, but the whole MD Anderson Cancer Center, explain the connection, the correlation.
Sure, it's very unique. MD Anderson desires to have their brand of care.
Who is MD Anderson, and why do they have the reputation they do?
Well, MD Anderson is considered the #1 comprehensive cancer center basically in the country by U.S. News and World Report. And
so I want to be clear, because public broadcasting, you have to cite the source. That comes from U.S. News and World Report?
That comes from U.S. News and World Report, that's correct. And they're considered the #1 research institution in the country for cancer. So they desire to bring their brand of care to at least 1/3 of the population. So they've entered into very novel partnerships, predominantly with health systems. We're the only physician-owned and governed entity that basically, because we're essentially an ambulatory, organized care delivery system that's physician-owned and governed. So it's unique in that regard, but we're still a full partner. So we intend to leverage their intellectual architecture, how they care for their patients, and bring that exactly to where our patients live.
Let's talk about this, Dr. Gabel. I'm curious about the whole clinical trial issue. How have they changed, and why does that matter? What is a clinical trial, by the way?
So a clinical trial, there are many types, but a clinical trial is the way that we prove that treatment X is better than treatment Y. And that can be with drugs, which is in his specialty, or techniques with radiation, or the outcome of the patient. And we're very interested in patient-reported outcomes. How did you feel? How do you feel 10 years after treatment? So clinical trials, as Dr. DeRosa alluded to earlier, we're really getting to what's called precision medicine, or what genetic hit What is wrong with that cancer cell that we can take advantage of and kill it faster? But we're also looking at more customized treatments. So again, the patient is not only cured, but with no side effects.
How has radiation oncology changed specifically?
It has changed mostly in terms of technology and information technology specifically. So when I started 25 years ago, we had very good treatments, but now we can literally pinpoint the tumor. We can follow the tumor and turn the radiation on and off when a patient breathes or moves, normal bowel function moving. So I'm thrilled to be in this era where we really can focus the radiation.
Doctor, let me ask you, the whole physician-patient relationship as it relates to cancer care, do you think it's how is it different than the important physician-patient relationship for a patient without or not dealing with cancer? How is it different?
Well, I've always felt that oncology is the last frontier of medicine.
The last frontier.
The last frontier.
Because?
Well, because of the fact that, as I said before, people are very sick. We've made a lot of advances in a lot of other disease sites, but cancer goes across all organ systems. Cancer can involve any organ, and so in that regard, in terms of the science too, it's actually breathtaking to see what's happened over the last 30 years, and to now be at the threshold where we can interrogate the tumor, we can find out what the driver mutation is, and we can actually target it and drug it.
Yeah, but the whole beyond the clinical side of it, I am interested in the emotional and psychological side. How does it change the role, or what impact does it have on the role of the physician?
I would say that I've been doing this for 30 years. It's been my great privilege to do this for 30 years. And I think that the relationship, the human aspect of what we do is something that is timeless. And I treat my patients the same way as I did before. We try to do the absolute best we can for them. We try to always be there for them. They're always facing an incredibly challenging situation. So that aspect, the human aspect of it, I don't know if that's changed. But what's so wonderful is that now we're able to offer things and more hope. And so what we're able to do is turn diseases that were universally fatal within a very short period of time into chronic diseases.
One last question for you, Dr. Gabel. Someone says, I have to leave New Jersey to get the best cancer care, you say?
One of the reasons why I chose my job with MD Anderson is because I knew it would be a way to guarantee quality, the same quality.
No matter where you live?
Yes.
No matter what your zip code?
Yes. We mean it and we live it. I mean, it's real.
Yeah. Dr. DeRosa, Dr. Gabel, we thank you very much for joining us. There are so many, I can't even think of anyone watching right now who either hasn't personally been touched or have a family member, which is personal, very personal, human, touched by cancer. We can't thank you enough. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
We'll be right back right after this.
To see more Caucus New Jersey with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato PhD. And follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
Hi, I'm Steve Adubato. We're coming to you from the North Ward Center in Newark, New Jersey. It is my pleasure to introduce Michele Adubato, Chief Executive Officer here at the North Ward Center, my younger sister by
many years.
So why don't we do this? Let's talk autism. But we're also here to do a forum on urban education, the future of urban education. But since my sister Michele has dedicated much of her life not only to this city as a principal of a school that deals with a whole range of challenging issues, but to autism. What is autism, and why do you care so much?
Well, autism is a neurological disorder that affects almost every aspect of life, including speech and language and social skills, and it's just and it's also across the spectrum. And when you said that I dedicated my life to autism, I think the people who dedicate their lives are the parents.
What do they
who
face?
Find out.
What do they face?
They face something that is probably one of the most It has to be the scariest thing for a parent that your child is born and he's beautiful and everything's okay. And then about 18 months, maybe something changes. As a parent, it's the scariest thing in the world. You know, that being said, you know, I've spoken to hundreds of parents, and we want to advocate for autism, but we have to be realistic in how that affects a family.
What do you mean? Break it
It
down.
affects the entire family. Autism is not just about a person. It's about the mom, the dad, the siblings. And it also affects how the community deals and works with autism and people with autism.
How do
So,
we do right now? How are we doing?
We don't do well. We don't do well with differences. And you and I have spoken about this. Like we see somebody different and we automatically put our defenses up. And I think that, you know, when we talk about what it means to have a child with autism, I think about leveling the playing field. So it's hard enough because, again, it's lifelong. And of course, there's many things that can be done that could create a situation where...
It's not a cure.
There's no cure for autism because autism is who a person is. And what I mean by that is, because I've known several, 100 individuals, they're individuals. They're different. And they're different in ways that are not the stereotypical ways that we hear. But then I think about the families in Newark, New Jersey, because that's who I deal with.
Right.
And my whole mission has been to level the playing field because it's not level.
Define level.
Well, again, wherever we live, and again, the zip code, the idea of the zip code should not define services. And when you have a child with autism, there are a plethora of services that are needed right in the beginning. Because if you do that, there's research that tells us that there's certain things that could be offset, there's certain things that will be modified, and there's many things that that could work. Early intervention, speech and language skills. And here's the thing. In the Newarks of our state
And nation.
A child in the urban setting is not diagnosed probably till about 7 or 8 years old.
Too late?
Way too late.
But
If
why
they're
is that?
diagnosed at
Why
all.
would it be diagnosed later in an urban community?
Because there's a school system here, and there has to be a certain level of understanding of what it is. And it's about going back to the pediatricians. It's about having a child that looks a little different. Maybe you can't figure it out in the beginning, and the doctor says, wait. The doctor says, wait. And parents in our urban environment sometimes, again, do not have all the tools that they need. They know instinctually something's going on, but they listen to the, quote, experts. And a lot of time those experts have no business, because you don't wait when you have autism.
You have to be proactive.
You have to hit early and hit often.
You know, the Center for Autism
Right.
has been something you've created that you care deeply about. Explain what it is and why it tries to deal with the issues you're talking about.
Right. So again, the Center for Autism came about many hundreds of parents, talking to me. Michele, yes, we ran a school and I was
Describe
a principal.
the school you were a principal
So the
of.
school is my heart, New Jersey Regional Day School. It's where I learned so much about humanity, about education, about creativity.
Were the children, quote unquote, different?
They sure were different, but I think we're all a little different. And what I learned there is about strength-based. So instead of focusing on deficits, let's focus on strength.
What does that have to do with the Center for Autism?
It has everything, because that's our motto, that's our mission. So we focus on strength. We don't do what we did here at the Center for Autism was create an adult day program. There were none. There were none in Newark.
What do you mean by
so
that?
Our children would graduate. So your child graduates and they go off to college or they go off to a vocational career or something. So what happens to the child 21 who graduates from a New Jersey Regional Day School and many other schools? What's their future look like? Dim.
And
How can that as a parent and as a child, how can it?
Sorry for interrupting. The Center for Autism does what for them?
So what we did was we developed an adult day program, really from an educational standpoint. So what we're really doing at the Center for Autism is extending their educational awareness and understanding, but also it's a community-based program. They're out in the community almost every day doing things that are purposeful, that are meaningful. We teach social skills, we have activities of daily living, we have a simulated apartment. So these are the realistic things that adults need when they leave school.
And the time we have left, this is highly, highly personal for you.
Sure is. Sure is. Yeah.
And is there an autism community or community committed to those dealing with autism and their families? Is there such an entity?
We know who we are. We know who each other are. I could meet someone on the street and they said, you know, Michele, I know who you are, and by the way, I think your brother's really cute, but also...
These would be very insightful people.
But also, I know what you've done for my kid,
right?
And thank you. So we know each other in ways that I think other people don't.
Yeah, let me ask you, before I let you out of here, new governor in New Jersey, Governor Phil Murphy.
Yeah.
What's your message to him as it relates to the autism community?
My message to Governor-elect Murphy...
As we tape it, he is governor-elect. When this airs, he will, in fact, be the governor.
...is listen to this community, continue to advocate for center-based work, for person-centered services, continue to fight for the services that are needed, especially in our urban area.
I am proud of my younger sister, who continues to do great things for folks who are often forgotten by others. Thank you, Michele.
Thank you.
Well done.
To see more Caucus New Jersey with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato, PhD. And follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
We're pleased to welcome Mr. Robert J. Budsock, President and CEO of a great organization called Integrity House, celebrating its 50th anniversary. Integrity House is all about?
So Integrity House is a nonprofit, community-based organization that was founded in 1968 with the mission of providing opportunities for individuals to reclaim their lives. We are the largest licensed residential addiction provider in the state of New Jersey. We have a total of 420 residential addiction treatment beds. And those beds are in our Newark and Secaucus campuses. In addition to that, we have 8 licensed outpatient sites, and those sites are in Essex County, Hudson County, Morris County, Ocean County,
right?
And in Ocean County down at Toms River. And then additionally, and most recently, as of October of 2017, Integrity House became the third-party operator of addiction services at Newbridge Medical Center, which is in Paramus up in Bergen County.
Let me ask you this. The opioid epidemic in this nation, we're not around, obviously, when you guys started. It is just destroying the lives of so many. How has it changed what you do every day and who you do it for?
Yeah. Well, I could tell you back in 1968, I wasn't around in 1968. I've been with Integrity House for 33 years. But that back in 1968, the founder of Integrity House started with a single house, which was in the Lincoln Park section of Newark, New Jersey. It was a year after the Newark uprising.
Right.
And he identified a need within the Newark community to treat opiate addiction. And there were other addictions also, alcoholism, cocaine, but primarily opiate addiction. And he identified that need in the inner city. And we started with those very humble beginnings, with a single house with 6 clients. And we had a founder who had a passion and a vision for just helping people and helping people put their lives back together. And over the years, we have actually, we've professionalized our services. We have licensed staff. We use evidence-based practices. We still have that home-like atmosphere at Integrity House, where when it's a residential treatment or even in the outpatient treatment, we like to create a very warm, welcoming family environment. But we've added these evidence-based practices, specifically medication-assisted treatment. Research has proven that addiction is a disease of the brain.
Yeah, let's talk about the mental health part of it.
Yeah. So research has shown that that addiction is a disease of the brain. So we have addiction that impacts the brain. We also have mental illness that impacts the brain. Probably when we talk about mental illness, about 10 years ago, Horizon Foundation really came to the aid of Integrity
They're
House.
supporters of yours. By the way, full disclosure, they support us here at the Caucus Educational Corporation and public broadcasting as well.
Yes,
Go ahead.
yes. And, you know, Jonathan Pearson's the executive director of the Horizon Foundation. He has been a close friend of Integrity House for many years. About 10 years ago, we really noticed an uptick in individuals that have a co-occurring mental health disorder. And at that time, the Horizon Foundation actually supported the addition of mental health services at Integrity House.
Let me ask you this. There are 4, quote unquote, are they pillars of Integrity House?
Yes.
Go through them quickly.
Yeah. So the 4 pillars of Integrity House, or the 4 pillars of effective treatment, we feel are the professional addiction treatment services, the mental health services, the primary medical services, and then we have housing and all the social supports that are required for someone to actually be successful and sustain their recovery.
I've often thought about this. We've had people in our family continue to struggle with addiction, as is the case with millions of families across this nation. Do you believe that a person in the throes of drug addiction, that he or she has to want to do this, or can they be forced into it?
I think in most cases, someone needs to have their back up against the wall,
right,
and needs to have some external motivation to take some action to turn their lives around. In some cases, it could be involvement with the criminal justice system.
Yep.
In other cases, it could be a family member that has given an ultimatum to the individual.
Either you go for treatment,
or there's going to be consequences. Cutting them off is a tough thing to do.
Sure is.
So, you know, but there has to be consequences, and the family has to work together with whoever else is close to the individual that's impacted by the addiction.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. You know, you have to work with that individual to convince them and open their eyes that that they have to find a better way to live. So what happens with addiction, when we talk about the brain disease, that actually the brain ends up getting hijacked by the drug. Well, what happens is that, you know, there's mechanisms in the brain, you know, that naturally release dopamine, which, you know, just gives us a good feeling. And those mechanisms, you know, they're brought on by a social interaction that maybe you and I are having today, by the food that I ate this morning, by other things that I do that actually just gives me a thrill or gives me some excitement and a good feeling. And what happens when you introduce those drugs into the system, specifically, you know, cocaine, methamphetamine, opiates, when you introduce those drugs, they end up releasing... They
mess with the brain.
And they end up releasing just 10 times the amount of dopamine. So the
and it feels good for some.
Yeah, so the individual, that is certainly somebody that's predisposed to addiction, and somebody that may have already low dopamine levels. When you introduce the drug, it ends up taking over, and then the brain tricks the person into thinking that, you know, what they need for survival is more of the drug, as opposed to the other healthy things that they should be pursuing.
As I listen to Robert, it just strikes me how little we understand about addiction and how much you've just helped a whole bunch of folks. And for 50 years, Integrity House has been doing it. Started in 1968. Robert J. Budsock, president and CEO of Integrity House, based in
Newark, New Jersey.
And lots of other locations.
And lots of other locations in northern New Jersey.
Congratulations on 50 great years.
Thank you.
To see more Caucus New Jersey with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato, PhD. And follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato. The preceding program has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of Caucus New Jersey has been provided by Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, Valley National Bank, Caldwell University, New Jersey Sharing Network, Adler Aphasia Center, the New Jersey office of the Insurance Fraud Prosecutor, and by Kessler Foundation. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. Caucus, New Jersey has been produced in partnership with TriStar Studios.
I could feel my lungs fill with oxygen, and I got my life back.
The Sharing Network means to me hope, life, and everything.
The Sharing Network was a lifeline to me when I really needed it.
We are an organ procurement organization.
The core purpose of the New Jersey Sharing Network is to save and enhance lives.
To honor those who gave.
Pay tribute to those who received.
Offer hope to those who continue to wait.
And remember the lives lost while waiting.
For the gift of life.